Counselor Gilson,
Here.
Counselor Cost, Counselor Isom,
Here.
Mayor Blackenbrock,
Here.
Counselor Flores,
Here.
Counselor Strauss. Here. Counselor Romer.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank each and every one of you who decided to attend tonight. Any guests who are physically present need to fill out the meeting sign-in sheet there at the door. And we're running a hybrid meeting, so people can still allow them to attend remotely. Cut down on background noise and feedback. Remote attendees should mute themselves while not speaking. Staff members and guests on the agenda to unmute themselves to give reports to council. Audience members may unmute themselves to speak during the public hearing and citizen comments. First item on the agenda, council minutes. Are there any questions or amendments from the minutes?
I have a comment.
Okay.
One of the things that we have implemented is council members that have a reason to be absent can submit comment in advance if they have anything they want to add. Councilor Romer did do that, and so he has some suggested amendments to minutes.
Okay.
We do have a recording that we can also review.
Do you want to?
We can still make a motion on last month's though, right?
Right.
Okay. I move the governing body of the city of Halsey approve April 9th city council meeting as submitted.
Yep,
Oh,
yes,
sorry,
it'd be
March.
March.
Today's April.
Well, and some of these are
It says April 9th.
They're from March 12th.
it does say April 9th there,
Yeah.
but-
Typo. That's what
Yeah.
it was.
but we can't do it as submitted because you've got these corrections to
Right.
it. They're submitted with
Right.
corrections.
Which corrections?
The list right here of what he did.
The one that Jeremy put on.
Well, that's from last month? Oh,
Mhm.
I thought, okay, so
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
I thought it was for,
No, there are some answered, looks like for this month, but some of these are corrections to last month's,
sorry.
March 12th.
Mhm.
Try it again, Jerry.
I move the governing body of the city of Halsey approve March 12th city council meeting as submitted.
With
All in favor?
corrections.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If you want
I'm sorry to interrupt.
to, what's that?
Gilson made the motion. Who seconded it? I think motion seconded.
Did somebody second it? Well,
Who seconded it?
I don't know.
Anybody did?
I did.
Okay. All right, sometimes for our
I
virtual
didn't,
reporters,
but-
it's hard to tell who first.
Right.
Second. There I did.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is financial reports. The review and approve the financial reports for journal entries for February 2024. March 2024. So we do one as in itself and then the next
Correct.
itself, so.
Oh,
Pardon me?
Yay. I move that the governing body of the city of Halsey approve the February 2024 financial reports and journal entries as submitted.
Second.
Favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we need to do the same for the March.
I move that the governing body of the City of Halsey approve the March 2024 financial reports and journal entries as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is agenda adjustments. Are there any?
Yes, I have one new agenda item and it will be for consensus, and that is to discuss potential budget committee members. Which is kind of late in the game for that, but we need them, so.
We have those one.
Oh, okay, so I didn't realize we were gonna do it right now.
Yeah.
Not have an amendment yet. I was in touch with both Jenny Lawrenson and Ken Lawrenson today. Jenny Lawrenson has historically been a budget committee member.
Mhm.
And is interested in remaining on the committee, and so she's not new, she's returning, she's going to be available. I will get her information. Ken has not totally committed, but he has historically come as a counselor.
Right.
He is potentially also interested, and so I just wanted to put before council because he's not new, he's familiar with the process, he does not have an application. If he decides that he is interested in joining us for budget committee, and we do have vacancies, will we be amendable to just adding him?
I have no problem with that. You
Yeah.
guys Good.
Okay, so we have consensus, fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, so the next item is delegations, and we're gonna be hearing from the Will County Sheriff's Fund.
Right here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah. I'll keep it short and sweet. Uh. Numbers, traffic numbers a little higher than typical for Albany, over the last couple of years that I've been doing this. It's not often that we see citations be higher than warnings. A lot of stuff we couldn't give warnings on, though. A lot of drivers cited for driving with a suspended driver's license or no driver's license, that's a citation. If you're caught driving without insurance, that's a citation. And then a lot of intersection related patrols, and there was a lot of stops related to chronically expired registration. So if your registration expired 5-6 years ago and you should have been on your second or third round, you're probably gonna get a citation to so you can go fix that. We towed a vehicle out of the hazard that was left in the roadway. Some person just decided to leave a vehicle right in the middle of the road, so we took some time to tow that away. No property crime last month again, which is fantastic. We're a couple months in a row on that. And then the one thing that's everybody kind of talked about the last couple weeks is the cat getting shot with the pellet gun. So that was the one arrest. If you kind of know where, if you shoot a cat and kill it, especially your neighbors, you will go to jail for that. So it's actually,
Actually, in the city.
yeah, that person was charged with animal abuse in the first degree, and he was taken to jail for that incident. So we know exactly who did that. There's only one cat involved, so it's not like we have an unknown person out there charging cats or, yeah. So it was a very isolated incident. We're quick to respond, and that person will be held accountable. Any questions about that or anything else in the report you might have seen?
The American going up and down, y'all don't patrol that, right? That's someone else.
American?
Mhm.
Yeah, to Peoria?
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be us.
Oh, that is y'all?
Yep.
Okay. No, I was just wondering if there's ever any monitoring on that road.
So that was really hard to park and monitor.
That makes sense.
But we probably drive it more than you realize.
Yeah.
Because that's a great way for us to get on Peoria.
Mhm.
Cause there's a ton of stuff and properties and residences from, Peoria going up to Highway 34 that we're
Mhm.
there all the time.
Mhm.
And more towards Peoria, the intersection of American and Peoria, we have some issues with trucks, turning in front of people, more crashes over there that you probably don't hear about because it's not in the report.
Right.
But yeah, we'll run speed enforcement through there, but we have to be moving.
Yeah, I
There's
gotcha.
There's
Yeah.
hardly any shoulder and the
Right.
swinging corners and stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow us to really park anywhere to do that, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously we see the race car drivers right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I hear him at my back door.
Yeah, they you hear them more than see them for sure. Just, so I was just curious.
yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else? Thank you much.
Yeah, all right, appreciate it.
Have a good night. Be safe.
Yep.
Thanks for waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, is citizen comments. It's time for interested anyone in the audience to address council on any item of concern. Please limit your comments to about 3 minutes and start by introducing yourself, stating your address. Anybody online? Any other written? Other than what?
No, we did not receive any written comment.
Okay, going once, going twice. Moving on. This is reports to council. And we'll start with the city administrator report.
Hello, everyone. Some of this stuff, you all, the council gets, some of this information in interim updates, but for the record, I think it's good to touch base on a number of them. As Sergeant Cranby has mentioned, there was a situation in town regarding a discharge of a firearm. And, council has been completely briefed on that topic, but, what the city did in regards to that situation is that we wanted to make sure that citizens are made aware that we're essentially aware of the situation. Legal action related to the crime portion of it is the purview of Lake County Sheriff, but we do have an ordinance regarding firearms discharge in town. And so we put that ordinance into our April Halsey Happenings newsletter. And we did send that citizen a letter notifying them of our ordinance to just sort of make sure that they knew that they for sure had that information. We consider the situation to be resolved on our end at this time. And I just wanted to make sure to note that we really, really appreciate our partners with Lake County Sheriffs. They were very responsive and very informative to the city throughout the process about, you know, the details of the issues. Yeah, so ordinances, moving on. Projects. So as all of you know, there was a park master plan and a grant that was submitted when we have a rare participant. And so we have successfully gotten the letter that we will be in fact getting that money, and that's exciting, right? There's definitely a lot of administrative background stuff that we had to do as a city to be able to meet the requirements to actually get that grant issued after we had learned that we had won the grant. And we are now in the phase of moving forward with actual plans for doing the work.
Right.
I am in the process of getting permits for the tree removal in the right of way. They do belong to ODOT. They are amicable to us removing them, and the funding agency there's so many acronyms, OPRD, normally doesn't allow that, and they felt that the case was strong, that they would allow that, the funding to be kept with the city in order to remove trees that we essentially don't own.
Right.
And it would be detrimental to some of the components of the project not to remove those trees. So we're fortunate in that regard. Some of the plan is to try to get the playground portions of the project done by June. Or like in June being like probably the time that the work would happen. We have to do requests for bids because it exceeds that $10,000 mark.
Right.
Those components of the project. The biggest part of the project is the sidewalks. It's the most expensive. I think it's gonna be the most disruptive to the park. And so I would not want to have that much construction at the park during our peak season.
Right.
I think that the best course of action would be to do that work in early fall, like late September. And so we will begin the process with that as well, to do bids for that work with the intent to timeline it for end of summer, early fall.
Did ODOT forgive the requirement of having a permit to remove those trees?
They have not, no, we have to get a permit. And essentially what it is to do work in the right of way.
Right.
That's what it is. They have not at this time come back with any fees. my intention is to tell them that I believe our fees should be waived because we're paying to remove their trees.
Right.
So I will keep you apprised of how that goes,
Okay.
but it seems unreasonable. So hopefully they agree. The other thing that is going on is, ODOT. As you've seen, the 99 project is moving forward. I met with Andrea down at their weekly check-in that they have with the contractors. I made introductions last week. Billy and Andy were there. They've met all those guys, but it was the first time for me. So that was nice to get that introduction. Andrea is my primary point of contact, so if we have any issues with the project, things get routed to me, I route them to Andrea, she talks with the contractors, they're working under her purview. So we take the same course with things from citizens, or, you know, council has anything they want to bring forward. As you know, the thing that's on my radar is that we're in the end phase of this project, and so we are gonna start getting some landscaping. And so I have been working with Andrea to get the subcontract that she has with the nursery that is gonna be doing the trees, because I want to see the deliverables. And the contact information, because essentially she mentioned that the tree contract includes some amount of care in the first year, so I would like to know those people. And just information about, if they have information about the pruning needs of the trees that we're getting and anything like that, because we get transfer of ownership, we will know the curb over will belong to us.
Mhm.
And so we need to make sure that we have a good plan for maintaining trees long term.
Can I back up for a second on the parks thing?
Mhm.
Is there a drawing somewhere what the master plan is for all this?
We do have a master plan. I would say the drawings are more of like a,
On a,
Or is like where things kind of were and what the park was, because there's like a master plan like packet that was put out. I think it's online too. But I don't think they went to the step of like tax lotting like distances from stuff, but it has like what the like phase 1 and phase 2 were and kind of what the
Yeah.
phases were.
well, I realize it probably cost us some money, but I was just wondering if there's like a artist rendering of what this is gonna look like when it's done kind of thing.
she
Now-
made some sketches.
Yeah, it's like the one that she had that was the main one was basically like an aerial view of like where kind of spatially things would be in the park. And that's in the park plan.
Okay,
And we'll make sure you have a
yeah, I'd
copy.
love to see something like that.
Yeah, it does give you an idea of what's coming.
Okay,
All right, so statement of economic interest, if you have not done it, the deadline is Friday. And so if you have questions about that, contact us at City Hall. We will do our best to make sure that you get through the process painlessly as possible, but as city councilors, it's your obligation to do it. And if failure to do it could result in OGEC sending you like a letter that you're out of compliance with your obligations for ethics. So just let us know if you need help, but Friday's the deadline.
If they haven't done that.
Budget committee, as a reminder, the committee is coming up at the end of April. April 30th is our first meeting. We have a second one, scheduled for the first week of May. And so, as you know, we have a number of vacant citizen seats on the committee. So in order for us to reach quorum, I would just like to remind folks, it's very important that you be there. I know everybody plans to be there, but just a friendly, gentle reminder. And while it is a little cutting it close for citizens that have never been on the committee to join at this time, if any citizens are interested in joining the committee for future year planning, then we're happy to have people. I'm available for questions if anybody has questions about what it means to be a committee member and the time commitment, so just reach out to City Hall.
How many seats are we at?
So now, I think we have 3 vacant seats. We have 3 for sure filled, possibly 4, and there are 7 seats. And we want committee members. All right, May agenda, always as a reminder that if there are items of interest that are coming up in town, they should be on a future agenda. I do my best to follow the agendas. Obviously, I know what's going on around here for the most part, but you often are more close, are hearing from citizens more directly. And so it's really helpful to hear that information and the development of agendas. I also would like to remind everybody to keep in mind that the planning sessions in which you set your priorities for the 2-year period should be a primary driver, but that doesn't mean that we just ignore anything else that comes up over that 2-year period. So, it's good to balance those things. And we printed the new priorities and they are out on your desk. And then also during our next city council meeting, we will set our date. So like just bring your calendars, we'll set our date for the future land use planning issue that that was discussed at the last meeting. We'll be on the other side of the, I don't want to say worst, the best part of budget planning. So it will be a good time to get something on the calendar so that we, get it moving forward. I did want to know how council feels about discussing this other ordinance related issue during that work session. It would not be as big of a case study. It's really just that we currently ordinances that were initially compliant with what the state was recommending, but in the time since this ordinance was adopted, and now the state ended up throwing out certain components of what is required. Mostly mostly about owner occupation. And so we have to update our ordinance to be state compliant. And there may be some other provisions that we could look at that might be a good fit for Halsey and within that ordinance that we're like currently not doing. So I guess I would just like to hear from council if you would like to just tackle that as a part of this work session, since it will kind of just, it'll be an add-on, it won't be as big of a case study. So I think we'll just separate
Of
it.
course, one meeting's better than two, so. If we can get it all done in one, is what I'm saying, then.
Do we have time limits on the work sessions as far as like how long we can meet?
I will double check the charter
Yeah.
to
I
be sure.
don't-
I'll bring that forward when we do the scheduling, but as far as I know,
I think it's like 8 hours max.
yeah, I think that we could potentially plan something for an evening 2-hour thing, or we can plan something for a Saturday for 4 hours. You have materials ahead of time.
I'm okay with one meeting.
Yeah.
Just one meeting.
One meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a meeting.
All right, so upcoming events, April, we have Child Abuse Prevention Month. We have the Book at 5K, which is this Saturday at the park. April 26th and 27th, Halsey is doing Harbor Day activities that will take place at the library. Abby may report on this, so I don't want to say too much, but we will be doing some activities there. I think she may be planning a story time, and we'll have our tree giveaway. April 30th is our budget committee meeting. May 7th is the second one. That's the one that's as needed. All right, that's it for me.
Can I make a comment before we leave her part of the show? I guess I'll throw this out to the council in general. What would you think of possibly trying to make it kind of, I guess I would say a procedure, professional courtesy, and we fill out these SEIs that we email you a copy, so you know who all is kind of taken care of.
She does, don't you get notified?
I have not been getting notified who's done it, so if you could do that, and there might be, let's be totally fair. There might be a way that I can see it that I haven't figured out yet. I have
I
looked into the
I
system.
think that you can, only because my first year, I had no idea what I was looking for. And I wasn't set up with the email. It was a mess. And Hillary got notified and
Okay.
she called me. So I don't know what it was or how, but I know that I was not in compliance. She got notified and got me updated.
If people could just email me a note that says they did it this year, because I've logged in and I haven't been able to figure out how I can tell who's done it and who hasn't. But I don't disagree that it might be possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay if that's not our long-term plan, and you don't have to forward me your completed anything, and just shoot me a message, call the office, or send me an email that just says that you did it.
Well, it seems like if the state knows who all's on the council and they know who has it filled out, it would be just as nice for them to
I'm great.
just send you a text, like, you know,
Mhm.
all your people are in compliance, so.
Right.
Yes.
It just seems to
Once
me
you
like
get
that
on
would be
that.
a reasonable courtesy for them
Mhm.
to send us.
To go to the state office and work on that.
Yeah.
Become it,
Well,
yeah.
you're the council president, you're kind of up the food chain from me.
Obviously, I'm not reliable though, so.
No, but I agree. I'm gonna double check in that SCI system. They also, honestly, I can call them for guidance.
Yeah.
So,
And like I said, I have no idea how she got notified. I just know that I was not in compliance and she got notified, but.
because I'm the one who like lists people, and I'm the one who got notified that I have to tell you all. So it
Yeah.
seems like there's gotta be a way.
Right,
Yeah,
Not like they don't know.
but you know, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I need the phone number for that.
You need the phone number. Okay.
I thought I had it and I'm looking for it, couldn't find it.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. We'll make sure to take care of you.
Huh?
I said, we will make sure to take care of you, Em.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I just had one quick question for the ODOT right away. Since we've been, obviously didn't know it included the trees at first. Are they gonna give us like the line of where that right of way ends? So when we start doing the path, we don't hit the same issue with like how far we are from their right of way and not?
I will make sure.
Oh.
Talking about the tree situation back and forth with them. It looks like it literally is like right along the edge of the trees, like they're barely in it.
Yeah,
But let's be sure. I agree.
And what the utilities are in that area.
I'm sorry, and utilities, yes.
Right. There's power. They're most closer to O Street. Than anything to the highway, there's nothing highway. And our sewer for the bathroom and the water is right there. That's well away from the roadway.
That's done.
Okay.
Don't we get free surveys on that though? I mean, if we call somebody, don't they have to come out and mark all that just to make sure we're officially in the clear?
Yes, the 811. Billy does some of that. Yeah, Billy and Angie, and then other utilities as needed.
Okay. Nothing else, moving on to Public Works with Andy.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So here's some highlights for my report for March. We did spend a majority of our time building an elevator door and the kitchen shutters for the city hall. Mowing season is here. We started mowing and we did all tune-ups and more maintenance before we started mowing. Spraying is also is on the list once the weather has changed. We did do a little bit of spraying session when we've last week. Some of the work that we've been doing also is getting public works budget, gathering the information for Brianna. Our wastewater discharge season is going well. Besides an issue we're having with meeting our TSS, which is short for total suspended solids % removal for the month of January and February. our national pollutant discharge elimination system permit requires us to have a minimum of 65% removal for BOD and TSS. So each non-compliance violation has to be reported, explaining the suspected cause, actions that are going to be taken, and action schedule for a reoccurrence of the non-compliance. And doing research, there are two major factors that come into play for not reaching our percent removal. And one is our I&I and our wastewater collection system that we are treating at the lagoon, or our primary cell has abundance of sludge, and the I&I can dilute the sample and create a low result. High sludge levels can prevent detention time, creating circuiting for the biological wastewater treatment process. So basically, if there's a lot of sludge in the pond, the water comes in, it's diluted, it just shoots out, and we don't get a good TSS result. We are working on trying to get some we're working on a boat that we can go out there and do our own testing for sludge. Civil West is working with us to get a grid on areas that we need to document for sludge depth. So once we get those results, we can have answers for what we need to do next. With the violations, we hadn't had those in the past, so I think it's important to consider future future budgeting for these type of things that that we might need to address to be in compliance. Is there any questions?
Yeah, how often is the sludge needed to be, I guess, removed? Or what is how does that work? Is it just dissolve eventually, or?
Yeah, the biological process is, and then that's what the wastewater is. It's kind of like if you have, oh geez, it's an open water system instead of having oh, Billy, help me out here. People's people don't have drain sewer systems at their house. They have a leach field and whatnot coming from their home. So it's the same type of process, but it's in an open atmosphere.
Okay.
So through the years, through the time, it creates too much sludge and not enough treatment time.
Okay.
So once the sludge overcomes the biological process, then we have an issue. And so there's a couple different ways that we've been doing research on is we can add some chemical or tablets that can buy us some time to reduce the sludge. But I think ultimately we're looking at closing that primary off and dredging the system.
Okay.
And that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just because Andy cut out for a second, that little bit of information I think we missed is that the chemicals basically keep the sludge down.
Right.
So can people legally have septic and sewer within the city limits?
No.
No, everybody's on their own on the city's system. Oops. I think I lost you. I don't hear anybody.
Did you guys do that with the John Deere?
Mhm.
What was wrong with our slot car mower?
But that one, I can just do it with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know,
You're talking
yeah,
about the bank against the chain link fence?
yeah, Randy used to do it all the time on the John Deere, but
Yeah, no, I'm like, oh, I didn't want to go that way. I'm like, I'll just do it. Normally, like closer to like the triangle where we work on the triangle, I always hit that bank. And then for a long time, when I first got here, you know, I was told Randy did it with a weed whacker. And I'm like.
no, he did it with the John
I
Deere.
think I could get it with that bank, so.
Well,
I pushed my limits of pushing myself mowing it. And so I mowed it. I don't get underneath the tree. I really want to talk to the homeowner, but every time I mow, he's not around because those are his apple trees and I won't, if I hit my face with them, I'm going. Like that's.
So the only reason I'm asking is I didn't recognize it as you, I just saw a John Deere mower.
Oh,
I knew we had a different mower for that application, I hope that property owner knows he doesn't have to mow that bank. So I didn't know if it was you or if it was them, so,
No, it was.
yeah, I was just kind of concerned the property owner took that upon himself, so. Okay,
That was me. I did it.
okay, yeah, no, Randy used to do it with the John Deere.
Yeah. I can get in there with the John Deere because it's a comfortable more ride. And then our little go-kart thing. And so it takes the bumps better. So if I can get in there with that, I'd rather do that. When it's short, but once it gets too long.
Yeah,
I don't want.
gotta kind of have to stay on top of it, yeah.
Yeah, and last year I tried to stay up on top of it. Cause I got in there early last year and then I just kind of slowly, but. Like on the other side of D heading south. It's too muddy in that area, so I can't get in there with the John Deere, so. Roller drive comes out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Next item is the library report with Abby.
Hi, okay, so,
there.
hello, so,
Cut out.
She's muted.
oops, sorry, can you hear me?
There you go.
Sorry about that. So in March, we had 109 visitors for an average of 5.45 per day. We had 111 books checked out and 1 new card issued. We had a pretty big donation from the Albany Public Library's book sale, which are not all cataloged yet, but we had at least 25 new books added to the catalog from them. We had our spring Easter themed story time, which went pretty well. And I'm not sure how much this was talked about last month while I was gone, but we are moving forward with the Libraries Transforming Communities grant from the American Library Association to get the new door installed. We've chosen the company we're going to work with on that. They're called Left Coast Doors. They just came out again to give us kind of a finalized estimate, and we should be able to schedule with them soon to have it put in. And then we would kind of just wait until all the parts were delivered and then we'd be good to go. We have to, well, I have to host some kind of community conversation before we can have the door installed. So I'm going to talk with the committee about when to plan that. And then we'll be announcing when that's going to take place. That's everything for last month. On to the more exciting stuff is the 5K this Saturday. So far, we have 43 people registered. And I've heard from a few other people that they're planning to register. So I think we're going to have at least 50, hopefully more. Yeah, we are going to do it slightly different this year. Nick's Soul Food, which is a food cart from Corvallis, they're going to join us. He's also gonna sell hot dogs in case people don't like soul food. And we're gonna have the bookmobile over there, and we're gonna be giving away kids and juvenile fiction books. And then we'll see if we can sell any of the general fiction books for $1. Yeah, I think that's just about it for the 5K. We have all of our sponsors and everything in place, and
We'll
I
have
think
t-shirts
everything-
Friday afternoon.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I did just find out today that Varcom offered to buy us some water bottles and granola bars or protein bars, something like that, to have at the event. So
Awesome.
that takes
Awesome.
something else kind of off our list. Yeah. Very nice of them. Other than the 5K, we are gonna have some activities for Arbor Day on the 26th and 27th. We're gonna be doing the tree giveaway at the library, and then we're gonna have a story time and some kind of activity. I'd like to have crafts as an option, but also some kind of outside, maybe like a scavenger hunt or something. As well for that. And we were invited to apply for a technology connectivity grant with Oregon Humanities. So I'm currently working on that. And I'm not sure when exactly we'll find out from them, but it's a pretty short timeline. So hopefully not too long.
Awesome.
What does that $5,000 buy us if we're granted that?
So what I'm working on is I'm trying to get some more information from a couple different brands, but what I'm hoping is that we can get something called a hub lab, where basically you get a certain amount of tablets that have educational games and programs on them that people can check out to use in the library. They wouldn't get to take it home, but they could be used for in-house use. I'm still looking at what the options are for that. And I reached out to someone for a quote on how much those actually costs, because it's not really listed. So that's kind of what I'm moving towards, some kind of technology that people can use in the library. Ideally something that's more educational for kids is kind of my goal. And I'm hoping that's going to be it, unless I find out that it's actually like $20,000 and it wouldn't be covered by the grant. So, yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask you about the door situation?
Yeah.
What exactly initiated this change? Is there some different change in the ADA laws, or? Cause I know when they first reopened the library, they went to a lot of bother to make sure it was ADA compliant, and now apparently we're not again.
So the door itself has enough room. It is ADA compliant. Someone with a wheelchair can get in and out. So that wasn't the only concern for me. I wanted there to be an automatic door for a few reasons. Partially, the door is just broken. It doesn't close by itself and it doesn't stay closed. And it really needed to be replaced anyway, but I started looking into automatic doors kind of just for the added extra accessibility of it. And then I heard about the grant and I thought, oh, that could be kind of a perfect tie-in. We need a new door and it would be more accessible. And even before I had submitted the grant, I was thinking about some other options, but it would have been really expensive to replace the door anyway, because it's kind of what I found out from the first company that gave us a quote is that it's kind of an abnormal size. We would have had to special order some stuff for it anyway. So yeah, it just seemed like a good opportunity to me. If we wouldn't have won that grant, we probably wouldn't have moved forward with an automatic door, but
So by
yeah,
automatic
the
door,
door
you
itself
mean
needed
it's,
to go anyway.
so it's something that a person, could just go on a wheelchair up there and just mash one of those big buttons? Is that what that is?
Correct. There's gonna be 2 buttons on the outside and the inside.
Okay. Yeah, that door's always been a problem.
Yeah.
It might have been ADA compliant, but it's always had a hard time staying shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for taking in the other issues that this would resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm getting grant funds to pay for it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you much.
Thank you.
Moving on to council reports, and we'll start off with me. Last month was pretty busy. Had the Central Land Advisory Board, which I have every month. But this one was a review of the walkthrough we had done the previous month. Everybody had made notes. There are a bunch of issues that we wanted to address and get clarification on. So that was quite a bit of good information gathered there. And then the Central Lynn Rec Center open house. That's been a process for almost 3 years, their fundraiser for that, to get that done. That's completed, looks awesome in there. There was some kids playing basketball in there pretty soon. And then Brown and I met with Sean Tate from SMAC and did this kind of a update. And address what was going on in the short session and what to look forward to in the long session. It was very informative, and I wasn't sure if Brianna had met him yet, but she had. And then we had budget committee, and it was just Brianna, myself, and Gabriel. And
Oh, the training.
yeah, yes, the introductory training for budget, which I really think that anybody that should be on budget committees, it's a good refresher. You know, of a good smack in the back of the head of, oh yeah, I remember that kind of thing, so. But that was my month. And so we'll move on and Central Lynn School District with Michelle.
To be very honest, I don't have a report. They moved their meeting to next week for some reason.
Oh, okay.
So
Where's it gonna be?
in one of the schools,
So chances are I'll go to the wrong one.
probably.
Thanks.
They've been, just like we had the work session and stuff has been still over here at the elementary school. So I don't know if that's kind of becoming like the new meeting place, but I'll let you know.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's a nice nice room and stuff, but no, so unfortunately I don't, other than 34 more days to graduation.
Next Monday at 7.
Yes.
Okay.
I know, I'm not ready for it, but different story.
Stuff is gonna come.
Thanks.
So the next item is old business. And the INI study, the infiltration study, before improvement plan compliance and actions. Would you like to?
Yes, and so, the council has essentially just asked, to discuss this issue again. We did get some information from Andy during his report. And then I included a summary of recommendations from the initial point of in the initial report that was finalized in September of 2022. During that inflow and infiltration study conducted by Civil West Engineering, it identified listed areas of concern, with some of those being critical over a period of 2 years to over 7 years. And now from when this was initially written, we're at almost to that 2-year mark, for the first round of recommendations within the INI study. Given new information provided by our public works lead regarding DEQ compliance and the wastewater treatment elevates the importance of addressing these repairs from my perspective.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, the DEQ has approved us for a partially forgivable loan for the utility infrastructure project. And this is a good time to be talking about questions for the loan or for the project, questions regarding this other thing that we received just yesterday, which on the top page shows, this is from a wastewater planning work that's happening with Civil West, and they have an initial sort of summary of recommendations for the final full master plan that we will get from them. And it's perspective. It's just perspective to add to the kinds of things that we might need to start capital planning for in regards to our wastewater treatment system. I&I is a component of that, as you know, because it is the inflow of fresh water from the storm system to our sewer system. One thing that I would like to point out is that while we talked about I&I and the way that it's an influx of fresh water in our system that we're treating and how that impacts the samples that we're getting in the DEQ compliance stuff. Another thing that it impacts is one of the recommendations is about lift station upgrades and a recommendation for new pumps. One of the reasons that our pumps potentially are working as hard as they are is because they're also trying to pump so much stormwater. So that recommendation from my perspective is also maybe a hard pill to swallow, because my understanding is that the pumps were replaced in 2013.
Yes.
So if we can extend their life, especially with $1 million almost price tag for that, I think it's worth thinking about ways to do that. Again, that's just my perspective and the data for you all to review and consider.
Can we legally tap into the money we've been drawing for our emergency fund as a preventive measure, or do we have to wait until it breaks down to tap into that? I mean, we've been putting a lot of money into that fund for a long time, and it looks like it would save us money down the road if we could legally do that.
I am not 100% sure on that.
Well, maybe Brianna could ask the city lawyer and.
Yeah.
So we have wastewater reserve,
Right.
and wastewater reserve, you would never want to gut your reserve.
Right.
But it is intended to, you can essentially move money from reserve into the main bucket, which would be wastewater. Or sewer, it would be the sewer fund, right? To be able to address some issues. What I will say is that I think that there's a case to be made for maybe doing a larger principal payment from my perspective in regards to the loan.
Right.
Yes, there's interest involved. We do get some free money out of going that route, even if you account for the interest. Councilor Romer did make the comment in here, and his math is correct. At the end of the day, we end up with about
73,000
in quote free money. I did review the DEQ loan information about prepayment. They don't make it super easy to do principal only prepayment. However, you are allowed to do prepayment, you are allowed to pay more or make larger payments over time, or you know, interim bigger payments to address that principal. It's just that if you are required to do 2 payments a year. And so if you do an interim payment 2 months into that like 6-month cycle, you might have incurred some interest, and you do have to pay that interest first, and then the rest goes to principal. So it is less easy to do a principal only payment on this, but it doesn't mean that you are paying the entirety of the interest every time that you submit an extra payment. So there are ways that we could consider if it's feasible for us to try to access some of that free money and make that free money bucket bigger.
Sure.
By committing to making larger payments than the about 8,500 that it would ask of us. To get out from under it sooner and reap the benefits of the forgivable portion.
Well, I was just thinking, like you said, and I think it's perfectly good logic that we try to reduce how much buy-in those pumps are actually having to process, because they weren't designed to do that. It just wears them out that much faster.
Yeah.
So if we could kind of lower that curve a little bit instead of just allow those pumps to keep taking the unnecessary beating.
Yes, this recommendation was related to about the pump station upgrades is related to capacity. It's like, how much is it pumping, right, Billy? We talked about it today, we had a meeting with Civil West. And so if we can reduce the burden on them, so they're not running, 11 hours straight during a really big storm event or rain event, then that would benefit the system. The other thing that comes along with, being in a situation where we have to get bigger pumps down the road is that then those pumps exceed the capacity of the generator that's out there. And then you need a new generator, and that just starts adding up. I'm not saying that we'll never have to do this, but we might be able to do some other things now to give us some time to prepare for this other thing.
Yeah. Since those things are obviously computer controlled in some ways, they're, let me ask a stupid question. Can you do like you do like with a car, can you plug into it and see what kind of defaults it's at?
What kind of codes does it throw?
Yeah, I think,
Codes.
I think the technology is there, I know. Like bigger towns, they can sit on a computer and look at it. They can tell you how many gallons per minute the pump's running, how much voltage it's running. There is technology out there. Is ours at that technology? I'm not 100% sure. If we could hook up a computer device or.
So I wonder if the company that installed it or whoever
They
manufactured it, could they possibly come on and check it and say, for lack of a better term, how many times does check engine lights come on?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of our,
Are you talking about like an efficiency check?
Well, something to let us know, maybe we've had problems that have come up and it kind of resolved itself.
Sure.
And maybe there's a pattern there of problems we've had we weren't aware of. If that thing throws some kind of codes that would tell us, maybe a major problem is imminent.
That'd be a good thing to look at.
our codes right now is like high water. The generator power. And like low and being low. Cause you don't want it to be too low, so that's when we get phone call when that happens. And then we need to go out there, like when it's been raining for 4 days straight, we get a high alarm.
Sure.
That's because we have so much water coming in, like the pumps can't keep up, and it tells us it's at a high level. But I bet you there is a way, I bet you the people who probably pump tech, they've installed that, and they could probably hook up their computer and see if a motor's not running 100% or it kicked out 3 hours, it ran for 3 hours, kicked out for 2 seconds and take prior for it.
Sure.
As far as I know, I've never heard of them doing any kind of a checkup on it. It just runs, so we figure it's gonna keep running.
Yeah, this year in our wish list or for our budget, Andy and I were thinking about is they need to be looked at. The motor's been in the ground for a long time, and so we, part of our wish list is get one pulled, bring it to the shop, get it fully rebuilt.
Yeah.
And then put it back in, so, next winter, we're not there going, hey, pump down. And
So you guys would have to do the rebuild yourselves?
no, we bring it to the shop.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what we have to do, we have to go in the hole. Disconnect it. And come back out of the hole, pull the pump out.
Yeah, take it to their shop and have them fix it.
Yeah, we take it to shop and they go, they
Yeah.
do it all.
That would be great, I think.
That's what we do with all of our pumps.
Yeah.
Every time we have a pump, we go to the shop.
Who do y'all deal with mostly? Or I guess who installed the initial pumps?
I couldn't tell you that.
That's probably what, 20 years old, maybe more?
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah,
So
so-
Oh, really? That's all?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, let's keep these.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my perspective. We will get the full report
Mhm.
and we, one of the things that he mentioned is that he has to write it to DEQ's recommended specs. And so, that is the information that we're getting, but we get to have some discussion on, these are recommendations.
Right.
So,
So are you looking for consensus on proceed or just informational or?
This is a no action. This is our opportunity to talk about it because
Sure.
we do have a resolution further in the agenda. And
Right.
so I am presenting it to see if council would be interested in passing a resolution to accept funding. Now is the time to ask more, now is the time to ask more questions if you think there's anything left.
That funding, as in that loan.
Yes, it's the 330,000, 50% forgivable, 2.87 interest over 30 years. My goal would be to make larger than the minimum payment of 8,500 to reduce the interest impact on them. Because I think that we would be in a good place to do that. As I get through the budget cycle, I would be more sure about how much over, and that might vary from year to year. Depending on the health of our budget, but,
And then that can be made comfortably, as Jeremy was asking.
yeah, and I will also, to be fully transparent, this loan was applied for by my predecessor. And I actually have a lot of faith in her budgeting abilities. And so what I have seen is that I think that we have room to do this as well. And I also put a lot of value in her assessment. She did the budget for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
I was on the budget committee before taking this position, and I think she did a good job.
Well, I'm just looking at it and it's mentioned even with the interest, it's the 70 whatever thousand of the money that we wouldn't have. The summary results says we need at least 620 feet of pipe. That alone is like 70 to 75 grand, like in just pipe fees.
Right.
And the longer we wait on it, the more expensive it's going to get.
Right.
Yes, I did run a preliminary future value calculation to see what if we just tried to save up this $330,000? And not take the loan, because if we don't take the loan, we walk away from this, quote free money. And we assumed that the future value interest is just what we would pay. And so that doesn't even take into account that we had an 8% CPI year 2 years ago.
Sure.
So it could vary. Using the same percentage rate, the amount of the value would increase by about 50,000 over a 5-year period, which isn't terrible. But if we were assuming that we just wanted to try to save over 5 years to address these issues, then that means that we would have to save about $77,000 a year just towards that to be able to address it at that future value rate. So it's expensive. It's hard to save much money for us.
Right.
How much money is in that emergency fund we've been building for years?
You'd be the one to ask on that one.
So I pulled the numbers from our previous year because that gives us our for sure actuals. And it's actually in the utility billing section of the document, but our 2022-2023 reserves for sewer were 156,600. I can double check what we have adopted for this year for the reserve. What I have noticed is that it seems like she's been putting $30,000 about away into the reserve every year. From the perspective, so from the sewer fund into the sewer reserve fund, but same with water. This also lists our water reserve pretty high. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on page 69. We're not talking about water right now. I can say that. I apologize. I don't want to derail us. I don't want to derail us. Let's say it. So sewer reserve in the last year was 156,600, as I mentioned. We absolutely don't want to get that. I wouldn't have a problem with spending some of that towards some of these projects, right? We have a bunch of them to discuss at future meetings. And then obviously I would also like to write another Christmas tree proposal. I have other things in mind to try to tackle some of these things to the best of our ability, but I think also that makes a case for an aggressive reserve plan.
Any questions?
Have we looked into bioswales at all for holding stormwater and helping with I&I?
Not that I know of. I know that that the 99 project did not include bioswales, and I don't know if it was because there wasn't enough real estate essentially to make them effective. I know there's gonna be the addition of green space from that, and so that's, you know, it's not a bioswale, but it does provide some of the ocean.
You mentioned the Christmas tree, then we have a meeting coming up with Colin for Lori.
Right.
The river, and they were looking for funding opportunities, so that might be a good time to.
Yes, and we have this professionally drafted report to bring to the
Right.
table, I agree.
Exactly. Okay, so nothing else, we're gonna move on to new business and the utility rates for 2024-2025.
Okay, so this is a discussion for, to guide me as city administrator for preparing the proposed budget for 2024-2025. We will not actually adopt any rate increases at this meeting. We will do it at a later meeting via resolution. But this is an opportunity for us to talk about some potential changes to utility rates for the coming year. Some of the reasons why I think the council should consider some adjustments to rates are obviously inflation. As costs go up for everybody, they do also go up for us. For costs of materials, and in personnel, regardless of if any raises are on the table, the cost of health insurance is going up 10% a year. The cost of our security is going up this year. Cost of legal is going up this year. Like, all of our costs continue to go up. So also the Western Oregon Regional CPI had an average increase of 4.32% this year. And that's the CPI is a measure that is often used for, it's a common tool for estimating the cost increase associated with operations. Council minutes from March of last year showed that council had previously discussed using the Western Region CPI in relation to considerations for utility increases over time. There was not a ton of detail in the minutes, but that is what I pulled from them. So that is the basis that I used for some of the recommendations that I brought forward. One of the other things that I used in my research regarding utility rates was a study that was conducted by RCAC staff and Business Oregon regarding our rates. It looks like we did a study in 2020 and another one in 2022. And in 2022, they did propose rate increases over 5 years in order to grow reserves. And I did include the summary portion of that report and the added materials. Those begin on page 77. Those rate increases are focused on water, and they have larger increases than what we currently have or what we've adopted in the last couple of years. And so while I am by no means proposing those large increases, I just felt like that was interesting data. It has to do with our ability to be sustainable and to build our reserves. And so it might be wise for us to be on a path towards having more sustainable rates in that regard.
Sure.
The wastewater infrastructure project, we've talked about a ton, so there's that information. I don't think I need to repeat it, but building up the water and sewer reserve give the city more funding options. Sometimes if they think that our rates are not adequate, they will refuse us funding because they say, like, a lot of infrastructure projects are partially forgivable loans. It is that or bonds. There are very few just grant-based infrastructure funding out there, so usually you have to have some amount of matching funds. And some funding sources won't work with us if they don't think that our rates will provide a capacity for us to afford the payoff, right? The other benefit to building our reserve is it allows us to be more intentional about our utility improvement plans rather than being in a place where we're in an emergency and we are having to do an emergency bond or like just spike utility rates because we have no choice. And so I am submitting this proposal for your consideration. My primary proposal for water is I am not saying that for sure the rates that I have suggested are where we should land, but I do recommend that we re-evaluate our tier structure. Because we have a tiered structure that has it has like 3 tiers. And almost all of our neighbors have 4 or 5. And so we don't have a breakdown that sort of allows us to have maybe like graduated rates that are a little higher, like our very top end users. So if somebody is sort of like an excessive user, they want their ground to be as green can be all summer long. Those things also put a lot of strain on our pumps because our pumps are running really hard in the summer when we're really heavy water users during our dry season. Then they would feel the most impact, but what I did propose was no changes at the lower tiers. So that regular usage or conservative usage would not result in rate increases for water. Sewer is the one that I think is the most serious at this time. And I use CPI as the rate for adjustment of 12 tiers. And then lastly, if we, I saw that there is another city who uses a utility capital improvement fee. And so that is another way to get at the same end, and it would essentially be earmarked at a flat rate. So it's something that is predictable for consumers. They know exactly what it's going to be. It's not going to vary with usage, and it would be earmarked directly into reserves.
Sure. I think we need to individually review everything. But can't make a decision tonight. Obviously, there has to be public comment. Hearing first. But if there's no other questions, in the interest of time, we're kind of running late. We had that 9 p.m. cutoff. So I don't want to cut you off or anything like that, but we got a bunch more stuff to come up. So
I agree. I hate to do this to folks, but given that we had such a late start. Would people be able to stay 20 minutes over or less if we?
I don't know if we can with the council rules.
Okay,
If
that's
Why not?
Yeah, I thought the council rules, it was set in stone. If there's a vote, we don't.
No, what I'm asking, since we started late,
Sure.
isn't it more predicated on the actual length of the meeting?
I would believe.
The actual length
Yeah.
of the meeting would be 2 hours if we go another extra 20.
Willing to go for that?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's my understanding.
I think that's.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. It's more.
I agree. I'm just looking at
Yeah.
the council rules says 9 p.m. So,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
So, if you guys wanna have consensus and go over some extra time,
Going.
Or you just keep going and try to get it done.
okay,
Let's do that.
that works for me.
You all can hate me later.
Oh,
It doesn't do good.
You can call me at 5 in the morning, wake me up. I'll ignore you, but you can.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the
Oh, I'm
employment.
sorry, actually, like I need some recommendations from council in order to, like, and we won't set the rates, but like a ballpark so that I can do the budget. Like I have to have some idea
Oh,
of what council thinks that they might be able to adopt.
Well, I have a question.
Yes,
You said that there are people that are sources of income for us on this issue that can basically refuse to give us money because they don't think we're charging enough.
yeah, it's about affordability. And so if we're in a
So what do they
situation,
base that on?
if they believe that our rates are generating enough revenue to make a loan payment. Like when we apply.
Well,
for certain
it seems to me like if you're in business, you would want to know how much it costs to generate a gallon of water. We don't even know that. How can they say you're not charging enough They don't know how much it may cost for us to make the water. Apparently, they don't have that restriction. They can just say, no, you don't charge enough. We don't have to prove why.
You know, I just know that there was a study by RCAC that did mention affordability and that we should consider our rates in regards to that. And I agree with you that it's very difficult to figure out how much it costs to produce 1 gallon of water. I would also say that metric is not realistic for us. I would say that a study would be like, how much does it cost to produce 1,000 gallons of water? Would be more reasonable. And that would frankly probably be like a rare interim project. It would probably be a 6-month project to be able to produce a report. And I do see value in it, but it's not something that can be done in a month.
No, that's very true.
Yeah, but I hear you. I'm not saying it's not value. I do see value. I think that we would need some technical expertise and we would need some dedicated FTEs specifically to that project to be able to really uncover.
Yeah. I just don't I've never understood how you adjust people's utility rates and you don't even know how much it costs to perform that service. I don't think it's fair to the person paying the fee. It's not supposed to be making a profit, we're just supposed to be covering the cost.
Right. Well,
But we don't know one way or the other.
Capital planning.
Well, we could be charging not enough to even cover it, but we don't know.
What I will say is that currently we transfer money from the general fund into both of our utilities. And so that means that our utility rates are not by themselves upholding the system. Because otherwise we wouldn't have to put any tax on it.
Do you have to do it every month? You have to transfer
We
or?
do it in the budget process every year. We do allocations from the general fund to both of our utility funds.
And that's what this is saying here, right? That we're essentially losing $40,000 in 2022, 17,000 in 23, because we're not making enough money to cover our water system.
And those should be self-supporting.
And so we had to pay money from other funds to cover utilities.
Yes, it's not necessarily covering the day-to-day operations. That is often like those big capital improvement projects. And so your rates should also be able to create your savings plan and address when you have unexpected repairs that maybe aren't part of your savings plan. Like, oh, this important thing broke and it's gonna be 10 grand. And we're gonna have to fix it. And maybe it's not a whole new system. It's gonna cost us 400,000, but it's still a big repair for Halsey. And so if we're transferring general funds into those, it's usually, I think, to uphold our capital planning portion of the budget, but as you can see, like, that can go on and on. You know, and obviously we'll look for other sources. We'll look for more grants. Because that, you know, helps keep us afloat.
Well, I think if you inform everyone that we're not even. I know that. You can only do so much, but if people really understand the idea that we're not even providing enough funds. To support our own city's water.
Right.
We kind of need to increase these rates or else we're gonna be dust sitting water.
Going back to the sewer one, I would say that that's the priority this year.
Right.
If we are not comfortable with, if we're not comfortable with the idea of adjusting our tiered rates, for water, I would be amicable to that. I will say that I see value in this and we should probably bring it back on to the next year, but I do think that sewer rates are going to be really high.
Right.
This one's based on CPI. Which is something that council has previously said felt like a comfortable metric. So I would like to hear how council goes with that.
So I think it was.
Here's. Is a significant viable way to do it and keeping the lower tiers essentially the same.
I know it wasn't 2020 because of COVID and even 21, we didn't increase
Exactly.
because of anything.
Right.
So we may have to take a little bit more of a larger increase now. We didn't because of the times that, you know, the events going on, COVID and everything. Yeah.
I also don't like when my bill goes up.
Oh, no. Well,
I understand.
Well, just the fact that inflation has hit us since then, you got a couple different things kind of driving all this.
mhm.
And if
That's-
we're coming up $30,000 and $40,000 a year, we're coming up short.
I'm looking at it as I think in the end, people are always, any increase people are gonna be unhappy with. But an increase of $2 or $3 now is gonna be better than if something breaks and the increase is like
Mhm.
$15, like some cities have had to do.
Well, but the fund should take care of something breaks, isn't it?
Right.
That's what it's there for.
Sure.
Would council be amicable to the sewer rates as proposed? Those are based off CPI. They would be rounded to the nearest half dollar, and so that last year. 40 to 41.50, 44.46, it's based off of a percentage and.
That's tier 5 only.
Where,
Tier, no, sewer is, sorry.
are you on page,
It's this one.
this one,
Page
okay,
76.
Right.
76.
And it's on.
Okay.
Is it 76?
Yeah, it's underneath the statement.
This one. And this final column is the tiers. And so you'll see like the base rate for sewer right now is 40 and we're proposing 41.
Oh, okay.
44 for tier 2 and we're proposing 46. How does council feel about that?
I'm okay with
fine
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes to this.
If nothing else, if people complain, then they should come to council and find out why we need to do it.
Right.
And again, we're gonna, this is last week's budget. This will be adopted for resolution and public hearing.
Right.
Would council be amicable to anything on water at this time, or would you like to table it?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I mean, you know it's necessary. It's just how much do you take a bite all at once?
Right.
Can I suggest that at tier 4, we drop it to 210? And at tier 5, we take it to 250? So that minimizes the impact and it still doesn't have any increase at the lower rates.
Sure. That's a good idea.
So instead of where are we at, tier
Well, no,
3?
way under what the study recommends,
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
but that's intentional. We're trying to get people there a little bit slower. Because the recommendations are actually a pretty big jump, and I think that would be a little bit accurate with these numbers, and I'm not recommending that. This increases the number of tiers, because our current one is like 0 to 3,000, 3,000 to 7,000, 7,000 to 15,000, and 15,000 and over. Like, it doesn't have sort of a big tier,
Sure.
which most other people do.
is this for just residential or is that residential and commercial?
This is for just residential. I can take a look at commercial, but this gives me enough data in order to do the budget. Commercial, I think, is like $2 a gallon, period.
Yeah, I know we just talked and I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I know there was a big conversation about the discrepancy in like residential and commercial water rates. So I just didn't know if that was like all of it or just residential, so.
I can definitely review that, but like I said, this gives me enough information for the budget.
Sure.
With that new proposal with the reduced top tiers, how
Yes.
does council feel about that?
I think
Sounds
that's
good.
so. Just say it again. 4, you would drop to 210?
So 4 would go down to 210 and tier 5 would go down to 250.
Right.
So right now, our highest tier is 225.
Mhm.
And so this adds a quarter to the
Yeah.
top tier. And then it also has this mid tier that will be a little bit more revenue.
Mhm.
This second column, based off the original numbers, kind of showed like how much a person's bill might go up. So it would be a little bit less than that range.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to see any increase, of course, but we all are feeling it in everything we do in our lives.
I would like to
And-
focus on small increases over time, the
Mhm.
increases
Yeah.
that people don't like, which is understandable.
Oh.
And it is, it's hard on our community members, you don't want to put them in that position.
I mean, it affects all of us, too,
Right.
so, I mean, yeah.
Is there anything else?
No, but with this, it's not like we can vote on this at all. It just gives you an idea of what to do.
Yes, it has
You
to
can
be
go from here.
a resolution and
Right.
it requires a public hearing because people have a right to talk about it.
Okay,
So we will hear from the public.
Right.
I will use this information, maybe conservatively.
Got it. Sounds good to me.
Could you make sure to make note of that in the next newsletter? So the public is
Yeah,
aware.
public hearing.
I would hope somebody shows up.
Only after they're cranky.
And this is sort of an aside, but I think that there will be an opportunity to talk to the school about their water issues, so that people
Right.
get super hammered by reduces.
Yeah.
Because they are community partners.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we have done that, and we can move on, and we have
Yep.
about 9 minutes, so I think
Yep.
we can do it.
Okay, so next item is the employee handbook, travel reimbursement and first.
We can table this.
You want to table that? Let's table it. Yes, Anna.
I'm sorry.
I have a question. I haven't heard anything about the new well in quite a while. What is happening with it?
Okay.
You
and
want to wait till next month
Yeah.
during citizens' comment?
that should have been addressed during citizen comments.
This has to do with the water.
Okay,
Yes.
but this is not really the time for it, and we're in time crunch. So if we come back during citizen comments or come chat,
Well, is it proceeding or not? That's.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after the meeting, just because we're like, we have to finish, hopefully.
Yeah.
But those are kind of things that
should have been.
we all know what's going on. If you have questions sitting out there during citizens' comments is
Right.
when you're not there. We're allowing you to ask right now and talk to you, but we don't have to.
Right. Because there's a time
There's a-
period for it.
And there's a place, and that's why we have a spot on our agenda
Right.
every month for citizens' comments. Otherwise, we don't hear from citizens except for outside of the meeting.
Okay, resolutions?
Yes, moving on to resolutions.
Arbor Day.
So the first one is resolution 2024-729, a resolution for the city of Halsey proclaiming April 26th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the city of Halsey. I would entertain a motion.
I move that the governing body of the city of Halsey adopt resolution 2024-729, a resolution of the city of Halsey proclaiming April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day in the city of Halsey.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2024-730, a resolution for the city of Halsey proclaiming April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Would entertain a motion.
I move that the governing body of the city of Halsey adopt resolution 2024-730, a resolution of the city of Halsey proclaiming April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2024-731, resolution of the city of Halsey authorizing a loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund by entering into a financing contract with the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. I would entertain a motion.
I move that the city of Halsey adopt resolution 2024-731. A resolution of the city of Halsey authorizing the loan from the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund by entering into a financing contract with the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution 2024-732. Resolution for the city of Halsey to receive and appropriate the 2024 Libraries Transforming Communities Grant awarded by the American Library Association. Entertain a motion.
I move the governing body of the city of Halsey adopt 2024-732, a resolution of the city of Halsey to receive and appropriate the 2024 Libraries Transforming Communities Grant awarded by the American Library Association.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And last but not least, resolution 2024-733. Resolution for the city of Halsey to receive and appropriate the grant awarded by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. I would entertain a motion.
I move the governing body of the city of Halsey adopt resolution 2024-733, a resolution of the city of Halsey to receive and appropriate the grant awarded by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we will adjourn at 8:06.
We did it.
Thank you, everybody.
I think we need to.